Welcome to Ryersonian TV. I'm Shannon Kouzes, and I'm joined today by Professor Kosny, who's here to speak with us. He's from the School of Urban Planning at Ryerson. He's the Associate Director, and he's also a professor there. So he's been dealing with this story for a little bit of time. He was spoken to by Global News on the day, November 25th, that the release date of Toronto being named the world's most youthful city by Youthful Cities was released. So he's going to speak to us a little bit today. Thanks so much for joining us today.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure.
So give me a few thoughts about, Toronto being named the world's most youthful city in November, and today is the Canadian launch. So talk to me about your thoughts on that.
Sure. I mean, there's sort of two different views, I guess. On one hand, there's the optic, and you read the headline, and wow, it's really cool. Isn't that, wow, we got another saying we're either the most livable, or the world's healthiest, or the most youthful, or the whatever. Sort of like the International Year of, and then you fill in the blank. I think all those things are kind of cool, and you read them, and you see them in the headlines, or in the press, or in the media. And then the next day is, yeah, okay, so what? So what? What does it mean? Where does it go? How did we actually get to be that best of, or the world's best of, whatever it is, whatever that flavor is? I think those are really the key questions. It's really nice to kind of have that label, but again, whether we achieved it consciously and went out to kind of design the indicators and fulfill them 8 or 10 years ago, or whether it's just kind of, we got there, I'm not really sure. And that's the trick of any set of indicators is after you're there, or after you do the measures. So you want to understand cause and effect. How'd you get there? What do you do with it? And can you actually do it again, or do it larger, or do it different? That's the key stuff in sort of shaping governance and decision making and leadership among youth or anyone.
Right, and as you mentioned, Youthful Cities is actually trying to do this again. It was their first year because it did so well with the 25 cities that were chosen based on population. They're now expanding to 100 cities. So do you really think that this data and this kind of collection method is really going to spur some kind of youth engagement and get this going for another year?
I think there's a big leap between sort of, I'll say, describing and sort of taking a snapshot. And that's what this is. Snapshots are great. And then again, where does it go? And does that translate into greater youth engagement or involvement? I mean, I'll sort of be critical on one hand, and let me come at it from the glass is half empty. Youth don't vote. Right. Youth aren't engaged. Youth don't participate in civic governance or any governance. So I'm kind of saying, if that's a key sort of point of all of this, is to find a way, a method, a place, a hook to get youth engaged, that's the goal. But that leap from kind of saying, hey, as Richard Florida talks about, wow, the Bohemian Index, that's really kind of cool. But does that translate into getting youth involved in shaping their cities? I think that's a pretty big chasm, and I'm not sure that one leads to the other. And that's where it's really important in my view, because I think we're sincerely lacking both the breadth and depth of leadership among youth.
So speaking about that leadership among youth, which I know is one of your specialty topics, what do you think then needs to really be done aside from this to kind of drive that leadership among youth?
If we had time for a course, okay, I think I teach it. But you know what? On one hand, it's not that complicated. You got to bother. And I know that sounds so simple, but you got to care. You got to teach, and I really mean that. Teach and provide environments where people think they matter. Youth think what they say and feel and participate in really matters. And that starts in the home, at schools, at university, all the way through. That's the trick, is to provide venues for participation. Then we'll maybe be able to kind of change who runs, who leads, and who guides.
Well, we're looking to generate that youth conversation tonight. We're going to be live blogging the Youthful Cities Canadian launch at www.ryersonian.ca. Join in on the conversation, hashtag SonianSocial. We're looking to engage you, create some youth leaders here at Ryerson, and thank you so much for joining me to talk about that today, Professor.
My pleasure. It was fun.
Have a great afternoon, everyone.